Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Jonathan Goldhill, who's a business coach and strategist. Welcome to the program, Jonathan.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Hey, so let's jump into some of the really specific things that you cover with your clients, but give us first a background of your journey to launching your firm. What started that for you?
Yeah, so I came out of a .com gone .bomb, if you will.
That's back in the day.
It was 2000. That's when I started my firm. And, back then we had a joke that everything was B2B and B2C and that was, so what that meant for me when the market started to turn and the NASDAQ was crashing, it was either back to banking or back to consulting. And so I went B2C back to consulting. And so that's when I got started, and I've been on my own ever since, and I've really enjoyed it. I really have a longer career as a consultant to entrepreneurs because 30 plus years ago, I graduated from the University of Southern California's MBA program with a degree in entrepreneurship and an emphasis in consulting. And really, It's been a passion of mine ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really is as you look at the statistics, of small business, and I think it's curious that the SBA says that a small business is any company with less than 500 employees. And I think that's interesting because I think that if a business has 372 employees, they think that's pretty darn big.
In fact, it's quite true. And the statistics are that 96% or thereabouts of all businesses are under $1 million in revenue. And under $1 million in revenue for most businesses is like fewer than 10 or 20 employees. So if you're over 10 million and you've got, 500 or employees or thereabouts, you're in really rare air. You're like 1% of all businesses.
So what type of business entrepreneur are you focusing on? What do you find, where do you find your sweet spot?
Well, right now, and for the last 10 years, I've been working with a lot of contractors. Just gotten into the niche of working with landscape contractors, those who do design build, bid, build, and maintain. And that's been a good spot for me. And fortunately, they've been deemed an essential service during this pandemic. So business has been steady and even growing in that sector. And then, of course, I've worked in technology and real estate and property management and manufacturing, and the list goes on. It's a pretty long list with 30 years behind me. But I'm mostly focused on contractors these days.
And so specifically, let's kind of dive in deeper there.
Yeah.
What is the red flag in a contractor's business that they would notice to go, ooh, I might need Jonathan's help, right? What's going on that they could either fix, or what are they not noticing that they can watch for?
Well, so Mike, the list can go on and on. I could just don't get me started, right? But so one of the first things, and one of the most common things that I hear is we don't have good processes. And what is like bad processes looks like one of a couple of things. One is that you're doing everything yourself, or you're relying on the people to do the different processes, which means that if the people are out, things break down. And then the other thing is that it looks like Keystone Cops. And if you remember the black and white movies, the silent movies back in the early days, the Keystone Cops were, they went that way, no, they went that way, and they're running, crisscross all around. It's just crazy. So broken and missing processes is a really big problem in these businesses. And I think that's one of the prime reasons that people call me, and they don't, there's other reasons, like they don't really have a roadmap for how to grow. and they need counseling and guidance. They're having trouble attracting the right people, good people. They're having trouble keeping people, and so they're not building a culture that makes them a destination employer that people want to go to. And so usually it's people, it's processes, and then they don't have any planning whatsoever, and they realize that they're just doing day to day, fighting the crises that come up, but they're not very proactive. And so that's a big mindset shift, is to get them into planning and accountability. So,
and when you were mentioning the processes and maybe operational, one thing that came to my mind is, well, how would that look? What would have to happen for one of them to go, ooh, that didn't really resonate with me to say processes, because we have that, or what does that really mean? But I wonder if this would happen. Could you, as a owner as a contractor, or owner of a company, could you leave for a 3-week vacation and not check your email and not call in and come back after 3 weeks after enjoying your time off and know that everything ran smoothly, you picked up new business, and there were no fires? And if the answer to that is no, or heck no, then maybe you don't have, new client onboarding processes. You don't have a go-to person that can run things when you're not there. And if you are the linchpin to the whole organization, maybe you need to start planning on something where, even if it is, not succession planning, getting out of the business, but maybe it's just, I might want to have a life and not have a job. You started your business because you didn't want to punch the clock for someone else. Well, now you're just punching the clock for you. So talk a little bit about that and how some of your consulting would help to maybe bring that to life.
Well, so it's so true, and that's one of the litmus test questions I used to ask. Could you go away for a 1-week, 2-week, 4-week vacation and come back and know that your business is running profitably and it doesn't require your daily presence, perspiration, problem solving? So people who want freedom are the ones that come to me. People that want to enjoy the journey are the ones that come seeking my help. If you're just like, hey, I'm going to do everything myself, I can't trust anybody, then they don't come to me. For instance, a guy just emailed me yesterday. He said, I really don't need your help. I used to have a bunch of guys, but now it's just basically me, and I use a whole bunch of subs, because he realized that he couldn't manage, or he didn't have a good way of handling these employees. So he just figures, I'll become a paper contractor because these subs are self-managing. Right. But he's not really looking to scale or build something. So people who are looking to scale up, they recognize that they're going to have to remove themselves. They're going to have to be able to build a lot, or they can get away from this business. And that's going to require processes in all areas, right? Operations, HR, finance, sales and marketing. Every function in the business is going to have to be proceduralized. So, and
I like how you call it on your website when you talk about scaling up. You say there's growth and then there's profitable, drama-free growth. Because I think that about the Keystone Cops, we might be running around confused and not growing. But then there's that other element of, okay, we're growing, and we're growing really, really fast, and we still have the Keystone Cop going on because it's full of drama because we're doing it without that set plan.
Yeah. I mean, you want the execution of your business to be like, those planes when they fly in sync with each other, and they do, aerial dramatics and things like that. Angels. I mean, that's Blue Angels. I mean, that's what we're talking about, is like, how do you function so well together that the right hand knows what the left hand is doing? And, one of the things that I've helped my clients put in place is a daily huddle, and it's a 5 to 15 minute stand up quick meeting. And if you're out in the field, then you call in. Everyone gets on the phone at 8:07, and for 12 minutes they're just going around the horn. Okay, what are you working on? Where are you stuck? What do you need help with? What resources? What's up? it's a great way of getting everyone on the same page real quickly, and then it's like, okay, break. They do it in sports. We see how well it works in football. It's a great feature, and it's really been a game changer for a lot of my clients.
I can tell you that those huddles work, and there's a process, or there's a name for those. It's I forget exactly what the name is, but the point is it makes sense. It makes logical sense. And one of my clients is like a $15 million contractor in the environmental services, and they have weekly, they don't do it daily, but they do a weekly all hands meeting, and it is everybody meeting, and hey, here's what's going on. But they go around, and it's like, okay, what are you working on? What did you do last week? What's going on this week? Okay, around the table, and this is like 25 to 30 people, and it's like an hour, and they've got it dialed into an hour. And at one point, you might think, I'm in accounting. What does it matter if I hear what operations is doing, or marketing, or whatever? But what happens is you find yourself tuned into something, and you'll hear someone going around the table going, hey, John, you mentioned this. I've got an idea for you. Or, hey, I think that this would be a good fit for you. And even though it's not your job, the fact that you know what's going on in the organization, it dials everyone in together. So I think that's such a huge piece that you bring up there.
Huge piece, and in your client example that you just described, it's a great example. It's a great time, rather, to also go over like a core ideology or belief. Like, what is a core value that we all are here, or what's our core purpose in being here? And it unifies the team. And it's great for the accounting department to know what the production department is doing on a job, and because otherwise they're disconnected. And then what you're trying to build is a strong team where there's a cultural glue and a fabric that ties them together. So that's a really valuable thing for them.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. So what do you find when you work with a new client, when they come to you and they say, okay, Obi-Wan Kenobi, tell me what to do, or I'm an open book, just guide me. Yeah. What are some of the first things you're finding that you need to address first?
So the people thing is, the people issue is one of the first ones. And it's kind of cliche, but do you have the right people, and are they in the right seats, and are they doing the right things? And then of those things that are doing them, are they doing them efficiently? Or, are they doing them right? So really we're talking about effectiveness and efficiency, two very different words, by the way. And so I spend time with them, like helping them put together an accountability chart, or what is classically an organizational chart. But don't build the organization chart around the existing people that you have. Build it around the idealized business of what you should have. Yeah. And then let's talk about that person that's in the sales seat. Like, is that the right person? Is he, the person who's doing the estimations or the project management, like, are they the right people? And then let's get clear on what are the 3 to 5 core responsibilities or functions, if you will, or roles of those particular people. And do they understand that, that's their primary role? And are they good at it? And do they have the capacity to even get better? So we're really looking for both core values fit and productivity. And that's when we're really finding out where the holes are in their organization, and that's when we start plugging and filling those holes. And by the way, when I say holes, I mean, it might be one of the problems might be that 2 people are occupying one seat, or a common problem is that one person, like an owner, is sitting in 4 different seats and wears those hats. And so we start to try and figure out, like, how do you get into just your seat and delegate the other seats to other people and fill those roles with one person who's accountable and responsible. So that's a big thing. I think people and teamwork is like the ultimate competitive advantage. I know in companies that I have run, when we had a great team, we did great things. So I really believe in the competitive advantage of teams, more so than like your product, your technology, your strategy. It's like, who are the people behind it all? And so that's where I really focus first.
And I love the point you make about the not focusing on where you are now, but where you could be and should be. And that has so many applications in even management. Let's not chastise someone for what they did today. Let's create this vision of where, hey, that was a great job you did here, but wow, if we could just do this and then you're guiding them on their potential. And that reminds me of the old cliche story about Wayne Gretzky, where he said, I don't skate where the puck is, I skate to where it's heading, because if you skate to where it is, you've focused on the wrong thing, and now it's ahead of you. So you focus where it's going, and now you're going to meet it there. And so now where's that organization going? Where's that team going? And I think that's just a huge piece that you bring up there.
Yeah, I'm not a hockey player. I'm more of a basketball guy myself, but Dennis Rodman, as crazy and controversial as he was, he always went to where the ball was, and that's the kind of basketball player I was as a point guard. I was always looking to where's the ball going, and how do you get there? And I was for a short guy, I was a pretty decent rebounder, and was able to move the team down the court, because that's really what it's about. It's so important, and we can be so much more than who we are. Really, if you've done any work in the personal development, I did a lot of early work and trying to be a peak performer and develop myself, and so staying fit is super important to that. Being, looking at, where can I be in a year from now, and setting goals and pushing yourself, driving yourself. I think it lifts other people up around you, and it's like a responsibility to show up as a human, that we're bringing our best self to the business every day.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, let's talk about your book, Disruptive Successor. What's the focus of that, and what are people going to learn from it?
Okay, so Mike, I wrote this book basically because I've been coaching now for, let's just call it 30 years, coaching and consulting combined. And so many coaches are coming into the business of coaching, so niching down and becoming an authority in a particular space seemed really important. And so I started focusing in on who are the types of clients that I'm attracting and having the best results with, and I found that they were next generation millennials who were leaders in family businesses. And so I wrote this book, Disruptive Successor, to specifically speak to that next generation leader in a family business, typically in an unsexy industry like construction. And my message to them is that what got you here, like maybe your dad's business, is all it's going to be. And if you wanted to go somewhere else, then you're going to have to be a disruptor. You're going to have to disrupt the processes, maybe improve upon the products or services, maybe change the business model, but you're going to need a playbook. And so I put together a 7-piece framework for them to follow to take their business from where it is now to where they want it to go. And I kind of am looking at companies that are in the 7-figure revenue, so that would be $1 to $10 million, and thinking, they come to me then. It's got a stable state business. They're not raising cash. It's not a startup, but now they want to take it to a $10 million to $100 million company, and that's my ideal client. That's who I'm speaking to, and that's what this framework is all about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when I love the feel that framework sounds. It sounds like train tracks to run on. It sounds like blueprint. It sounds like checklist. And it's like, just show me the way, And definitely, it's like the definition of insanity. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, that's insane. So if it's your parents' business, your family business, and you think it's going to just, keep on expanding, because there's a lot of people like Blockbuster back in the day that thought, in fact, the story's told that Netflix came to them and said, "Hey, we got this cool idea. We ought to partner up and take it, virtual." And they're like, "You're crazy. Forget about it." Well, now look who was crazy. Yeah. So, disruption reminds me of innovation. And I think that here's something that I think people need to think about, in my opinion. Disruption and innovation sound just massive, like, oh, I've got to change the world. But it does not have to be that way. It could be that you look at your business processes and you go, you know what, this is a core process. We're not going to change that or pivot or move away from that. But here's some nuances. Here's a way we can polish it up a bit, and it becomes an innovation on a certain process. You're not changing everything, so you don't feel like you here comes Jonathan going to teach you how to change the whole business, and you're not going to recognize it. It's just, how can you take it to the next level by keep doing what you're doing, but do it in a new and fresh way.
Yeah, I mean, look, landscaping, roofing, plumbing, electrical, I mean, the fields themselves and the work that's done in the field isn't changing that much, but there's improvements in the products that are available. So let's just take landscaping, for instance, right? You can now get a fleet well, first you could lease a fleet of vehicles, so that could be less expensive. You could have them be solar powered, or electric, so that reduces your carbon footprint, which might be even attractive to some of your customers. You're using things like paving stones, and there's new pavers that are permeable. So you can certainly upgrade the products and services that you're putting into place, and you need to stay on top of your field to be able to do that. But in addition, look at what digitization has done in our world, in our lifetime. I mean, so if you're not using technology to manage your service calls or to do your scheduling or your estimating or your design and building, I mean, then you're missing out on incredible opportunity. And so the world is constantly changing, right, Mike? And so even things that were done the way it used to be.
Use that technology. That's fine. Get someone who does. Bring someone in or hire someone as an external consultant. Figure it out. And it makes me, I don't know your space specifically on landscaping and things like that, but this thought came to my mind. How could you have someone, like here's an example. If I was going to have a add-on addition to my house built, or if I was going to look at some blueprints, I could look at that till the cows come home, and I'm not going to I can't visualize blueprints. Some people can, but how can you bring that to life? So have you ever seen, I know that I've seen some commercials recently for a Warby Parker, the eyeglass company, and it's like, oh, I wonder if these rims would look, or frames would look good on me, and they hold this app up, and it's like they take a picture of themselves, and then they can just flip through all the frames, and it superimposes perfectly the frame on you, and you're like, ooh, I hate that. Oh, I like that one. So maybe, possibly, there's a way that you could take a picture of your house, corporate home office, and maybe it's a landscape company, and they've got a technology that can go, here's some design ideas that we have, poof, and it's like, wow, that brings it to life. Those are the kind of things. That's not disrupting the entire industry. That's just disrupting what you normally would do by trying to explain to someone, and they're kind of smiling, nodding, but they don't really get it.
Well, it's difficult, and there's to disrupt an entire industry, as we know. There are players that are few and far between, right? There's the Ubers and the Airbnbs that have completely disrupted how traveling is done or how transportation is done. But, and they are what we would just commonly describe as call the unicorns, right? Because they become billion-dollar valuation type companies, and they explode seemingly overnight through this incredible viral mass effect. But how many companies do you really know, or have you ever worked with, that are in this kind of a blitz scaling kind of a space? Very few. Very few. And the fact is that family businesses account for 2/3 of all the employment and gross domestic product in the United States. So there's a lot of them. And many of them are small. Admittedly, they're under $1 million, and they're the dry cleaner, the pizzeria, just the little store down the street, gas station, whatever. But they really are incredible employers. And if they're not focused on growth and the future, then they're looking in the rearview mirror, And if you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're standing still, other people are going to catch up and pass you, meaning competitors. So it's so important to just look at how can everything be improved. And look, like every few years in my business, I've had to reinvent myself a little bit because the world is changing, coaching's changing, and I'm changing. And if I'm not adjusting and changing to that, then I'm going to get left behind. It's just the way it is.
100%. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on. Let's wrap up with what is the best way people can reach out, learn more about you, pick up a copy of your book, and maybe look at to how to bring some of these perspectives to their business.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for having me on the show. People can reach me directly on my email. It's the best way, jon@thegoldhillgroup.com. They could buy a copy of my book at disruptivesuccessor.com, or they can go to my website, thegoldhillgroup.com. And then I can be found, of course, on LinkedIn and on Facebook, but most of my activity is probably on LinkedIn these days. So that's how to get a hold of me.
Sounds good. Well, Jonathan, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate the time together.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.